That's what I'm saying. I don't think you. The only way.
Testing.
Yep. We're on.
I guess we're on.
Planning Commission meeting. One thing we'd like to add tonight is that anyone addressing the commission, we would appreciate them standing behind the podium. And we really thank everyone for their cooperation. We had some issues in the past where people came up to the commissioners, and we'd like to try to avoid that. Welcome to Planning Commission members, staff, and guests. I would ask that everyone turn their cell phones and PDAs to the silent or vibrate mode. The administrator will now proceed with the roll call.
Ms. Hartz? Mr. Waits? Mr. Stigemeyer? Mr. Stern?
Here.
Mr. Cohn?
Here.
Mr. Taylor? Ms. James?
Here.
Mr. Tupper?
Here.
And Mr. Frost? We have quorum.
Thank you. I will briefly review the meeting format. Applicants with requests before the Planning Commission are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time should include, but is not limited to, an overview of the project, case history, and any pertinent meetings held regarding the request. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant, such as attorneys, engineers, and architects. This time limit does not include any questions asked by Planning Commission or staff regarding requests. Members of the general public are given the opportunity to address their concerns in intervals of 2 minutes. The administrator has a timer and will make presenters aware of when their time has expired. The Planning Commission reserves the right to amend these procedures on a case-by-case basis. The consent agenda. The Planning Commission uses the consent agenda to approve non-controversial or routine matters by a single motion and vote. Examples of such items include approval of site plans, annexations, and street names. If a member of the Planning Commission or the general public would like to discuss an item on the consent agenda, that item is removed from the consent agenda and considered during the meeting. The Planning Commission then approves the remaining consent agenda items. The administrator will now read the consent agenda.
Your consent agenda this evening consists of a number of annexations, comprehensive plan map amendments, and zoning map amendments. Those consist of an annexation of 14 acres off of Wood Creek Farms Road, 19 acres off of Buckthorn Court, item number 4, which is 1.7 acres off of Red Bay Road, item number 5, which is 821 Pepper Street, and 831 and 835 and 819 Pepper Street, and 819 and 821 Leesburg Road. A comprehensive plan map amendment for a number of parcels on Forest Drive. A zoning map and text amendment for Hardin Street for the Babcock Building Female Dining Hall, as well as number 8, which is the Babcock Building Male Dining Hall. as well as 11 zoning map amendment for 1100 Holly Street. In addition, if you would like, item number 11 we put on as the regular agenda, but that particular item, everything's fine with it. It's a subdivision review, and when we published the agenda, we weren't sure if all of the approvals from the reviewing agencies would come through, but those are all there. So if you'd like, you could amend the agenda to put that on the consent, or you could just keep it as a separate item and review that at that time too.
Would any of you like to have that placed on the regular agenda or keep it on the consent?
We don't believe there's anybody in the we don't believe there's any public that we've recognized.
Oh, it's on regular.
Yeah, I move that we put it on the consent agenda.
All in favor? Aye. We'll put it on the consent agenda.
And John, just a thing of clarity, number 2 is .14. It's at 14/10 of an acre, and 19. It's .19, not 19 acres.
Ah, yes, sorry.
Just so it's on the record correctly.
So back to the consent agenda. Do any commission members or guests today wish to have items on the consent agenda removed and placed on the regular agenda? Okay, then I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the inclusion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Consent agenda is approved. We will now proceed with the regular agenda.
That's going to bring us to the item number 12, which is site plan, S-Plan 2016-0006, which is at 875 Catawba Street. TMS number is 08913, 05-03, and 08913, 5 and 5. You may recall that this case was deferred by the Planning Commission at the November meeting, pending review of additional information and pending Board of Zoning Appeals approval of the use of the property as apartments within a planned within a planned development overlay district. Also, there was a variance pending for setbacks and parking requirements. On December the 13th, the Board of Zoning Appeals granted a special exception for the use of the property as apartments and a variance to the setback and parking requirements. This project is located on the northwest corner of Catawba Street and Lincoln Street and entails the demolition of a commercial building and the construction of a plus or minus 113,000 square foot, 4-story multi-family building on 1.88 acres. The multi-family building will consist of 141 units with the parking garage and plus or minus 5,000 square feet of retail space. The total number of parking spaces for the development required is 282, whereas the applicant proposes to provide 161 through the combination of a garage and off-street parking. There'll be 17 parking spaces on the Catawba Street right-of-way, and again, the Board of Zoning Appeals granted a variance to the parking requirements. This project is before the commission as it is a group development on two fronts. The building contains greater than 100,000 square feet, and it contains more than 5 dwelling units. In accordance with Section 17-303, group developments are required to be reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission to review their potential impacts, causes to the area. Should the Planning Commission be inclined to grant this approval, we would ask that it be done with staff comments. There's also a traffic impact study that was done for this development, and that was linked to the agenda as well. And I believe the applicant is present and can express their case.
Do we have any questions to staff from the commission? I have a couple.
Go ahead.
I've read this pretty thoroughly, and I also looked at the traffic study. And one of the things I didn't see was there, or maybe I missed it, was there anything in there for bicycles? Since this is,
There's a comment, I believe, by Mr. Fellows, who asked that the pedestrian and bicycle traffic be addressed in a revision to the traffic impact study at the permitting phase.
all right, and also, is this a Superfund site environmentally?
There are, I believe that there are environmental impacts, and I'll let the applicant speak to that.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
Could you go through again what the zoning appeals has approved
They,
specifically?
They approved a variance to the setback requirements as well as a variance to the parking, off-street parking requirements.
Well, if there are no other questions, would the applicant like to come forward and address the commission?
Good afternoon. Excuse me, my name is Brad Brown. I'm with BET Investments out of Horsham, Pennsylvania. Thank you for your time today. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate it.
Happy New Year.
875 Catawba. We're excited to be coming to Columbia on behalf of BET Investments. This is an illustration of the property. This is an illustration of the property on Lincoln looking south. Property is at the corner of Lincoln and Catawba. It's 1.8 acres. To answer your question from earlier, it's been identified, but it is not on the national list as a Superfund site currently. It is 1.8 acres, currently zoned M2. It's a vacant warehouse, has been for, I believe, about 15 years. Proposing mixed-use residential. When we came to the city, we met with, started with planning and zoning staff, invoked our architect at that point, met with Capital City Mill District, adjacent property owners, University Foundation, University of South Carolina, and the incubator as well. What we learned is it's designed for, the design is really tailored towards a high-density mix, 4-story urban environment for the property, in that PD overlay actually allows a lot of classes to mix both business and residential in the same area, and the property will really act as a gateway for the Mill District. The community would like to offer new multifamily products designed to keep people in town once they graduate from school. Also, it's tailored well for grad students and incubator employees to be able to walk to work and be very close in where they live. The property really lines up with Plan Columbia and redevelopment of infill spaces very well, we believe. The plan calls for architectural on a very large scale, 4 to 6 stories. So it kind of fits the plan that the city has identified very well. It's consistent with the community plan, and actually the Mill District was very vocal in their support. I think you have a letter of support from them for the property, and we tried to link the history of the Mill District together architecturally with the city's plan of redevelopment and use of the property. So you'll see a lot of brick. It looks like it fits very well. Again, we think it'll be a new entrance and anchor to the Mill District area. Here are some pictures looking from the northwest corner, looking southeast. and from the northwest corner looking to the east. It's mostly concrete pad left from when superphosphate was made at this location. So the warehouse that's there was built afterwards, and all this will have to be removed as a part of the cleanup process. Here's a panorama view from Lincoln Street looking southwest at the entrance to the property. Current condition. The design objectives were really respect and reflect the Mill District, incorporate materials that are historically found. So we've put a lot of brick on the face of the building to try to get it to blend in and match the history in the area. Strong sense of visual continuity and connection, and to promote multiple modes of transportation with an urban environment. Scooters, cars, bikes, things that young folks, I think we'll get to a slide here in a little bit, 30% of the people that live in Columbia are under 34 years old. Here's a picture of the site. Again, this is to review 178 vehicles, 170 bicycles, 16 scooters, and we have about 117,000 square feet in the building as currently designed. It's a first floor podium, so it'll be park under totally, and 3 stories of residential above it. And you'll notice to the right the pedestrian path and a new bike path was added because that was already part of the city's design for Lincoln Street to carry through. So we'll be adding that to the property per the recommendations from staff. Unit mix, this is really a property that has a unit mix that's very different for the area. Very low density. Almost all the units will be single occupant dwellings. Studios and 1 bedrooms will be about 80% of the property. So it's really designed to attract a different young individual than anything that's available, really, as the best we can tell, within about a half mile into downtown. Here's a streetscape of Lincoln, I believe, looking north. And that was that matches the plan that the city already has in place. I have that correctly. So 75% single occupants. It gives you an idea of the typical building floor plate layout. It'll have an elevated deck on the 2nd floor and contemplating a water feature there now. Around the country, we see BET offers a host of products as we get into urban environments. A graduate on or off campus innovation incubator. We have another incubator property going in downtown Pittsburgh as we speak. We do upperclassmen and graduate off campus, primarily 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 4-bedroom, 4-bath, and undergraduate on campus, almost all 4-4s in those markets. Trends in multifamily, we're seeing innovation and incubators at a lot of universities really taking off. Several in the Northeast, several out west, so we're glad to be a part of the area. And I think this will be something different for the Mill District to help with the folks and businesses that are trying to relocate there. A couple of typical floor plans. Studio is 325 square feet, plus or minus. 1-bedrooms will be 575 square feet, 2 bedrooms at about 800 square feet. This is a typical outside corner. When we met with the Mill District and all the representatives, we have an alternate here, and we still have a couple of options to work through of whether to do 3 bedrooms in the outside corner or alternate a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, again, to even drive up further than what we currently have in single occupant dwellings for the property. We'll probably do a mix at this point. We're working on what shade of red brick to pick to fit the community. We don't want to copy off Olympia Granby, but we'd really like it to fit pretty well, so we're going to spend some time with the designer and our architect to make a good selection, and we'll consult the neighborhood before we bring it to the city for permit. Innovation districts, I already covered several of these items, but your age range and keeping people in Columbia when they graduate is very important. Everyone that we've spoken to has said that's really a top priority. Offering diversity in different products, both downtown, in this location for the incubator, north of town. We need some other products as we look at your city, and hopefully we'll be able to make some other investments. We'd like to make multiple in the area. Target market here is upper level graduate students, interns that work for Boeing, for example, in the incubator. Another incubator site is getting ready to start construction. So we've reached out to the university and the incubator to see about getting in touch with some of their customers, and we'd really like it to be a tool to promote the incubator as they're bringing companies in to tour them through. The benefits, the building really reflects the history, the sense of community. It activates the corner again from being dormant for so long. We put pedestrians, bike, and it encourages the type of urban transportation you would like. We'll remediate a brownfield and clean the property up as a part of it, and it puts it back to work so the city can see the taxes off of it. Our company is owned by Bruce Toll of BET Investments. He made his company with Toll Brothers Construction. As an investment, Michael Markman is his partner, and personally, they're both interested in Columbia in investing in your community. And we hold our assets for a long time. We don't sell them, we don't flip them, we manage them all personally. There's nothing that's outside managed. So we're concerned about our customers, we're concerned about connection with the community. We intend on being here for a long time.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
Certainly. If they decide they want to go from a bunch of 1-bedrooms and studios and combine those into 2 bedrooms and make them 3 bedrooms, what type of flexibility does this approval allow them to do?
Depends on how many units they go up. So it doesn't necessarily matter 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom, but if they change to go an addition of 5 additional units, they'll be required to come back.
So
If they reduce units, then I don't think they'd have to come back more so, but if they want to increase in units, they would have to come back.
And are units in this case, are they defined as bedrooms or are they defined as actual rental units?
Rental units, dwelling units.
Got it. Okay.
Anyone else have a question for the applicant? I have 3.
Sure.
First one is, if this is a Superfund site and there are environmental problems, what do you plan to do to cure them?
We've completed the phase 1 environmentals already, and phase 2 is required. We wanted to finish the planning process, but have had detailed conversations with Region 4 already. The environmental contractor and engineer that we hired has worked in Region 4 before. The testing that the EPA has completed thus far has been to 2 feet below grade. In similar superphosphate sites, I would assume that's the template they look for. It's elevated levels of, they used to have lead arsenic chambers there that they would treat the phosphate in. I think there were 5 on the plot. I believe this was the actual manufacturing area. There was storage east and west, and I think the university has a couple of those locations as well. When we finish the phase 2, there's 2 options really. One is you can either manage it in place and cap it, remove some materials. The other is you can excavate and remove or remediate the materials. That's our preference at this point. But we haven't done the water table, from what we're told by the city staff, the water table is very high there. So we really need to complete the Phase 2 environmental and then work with the city, with the EPA, get the site cleaned up, and then deal with stormwater and stormwater management off-site. Did that answer your question?
Pretty much.
Okay.
The other two are, it's, there's a live railroad track that separates the Greek village from this project. You know, I have a concern that someone at night could be going back and forth, stumble, fall on the tracks. What's going to be done to protect?
You know, I'm concerned for all my customers, and I'm responsible for the group that will build this property. I work directly for the owner, so I'm as concerned as you being here at the city, because if something happens as a result of our efforts, you know, they all belong to someone. You wouldn't want anyone injured. I think staff recommended our traffic study engineer work directly with the city to establish where location and counts. Staff came back and I believe said they would like, as a part of the conditional recommendation for approval, is they would like to go back and look at pedestrian traffic and specifically look at the railroad track. So our plan is, when we're finished here today, to commission that report, let the traffic engineer work with the city, and make sure that everyone's happy and it's a safe environment. As the bicycle path and the pedestrian path that really aren't included in that walk, but part of the city's plan, eventually will be the first leg on the south side of both of those. And as they cross the tracks, I'm sure both of those items will need to be addressed. I'm sorry.
And for staff, this is in the Innovista district, correct? Well, in the incubator district.
It's actually in what we call the Capital City Mill District area. Innovista would be just north of the railroad tracks. That's the neighborhood planning area.
Okay. And you did a very nice presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, by the way? Craig?
Staff, as far as the environmental issues, if environmental issues are determined to alter the site plan, how much of a variance is required before you have to come back to this body for review and approval?
It depends on the alteration, whether or not it's a major change to the site plan, or if it's a minor change. It just depends on how significant of the change that it is. Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak today?
Good evening. My name is Ryan Nevius, and I'm a resident of Columbia, and I'm also the representative for the Capital City Mill District Alliance, which is made up of all of the neighborhoods, Olympia, Granby, and Whaley Street neighborhood, as well as area businesses. We've met with the BET folks. First of all, I'd like to say that we are in the middle. You may not have heard of us. We are the newest district in the city of Columbia, and we are very excited about what we believe to create an extremely vibrant area to add to our city's many districts. The area between the river and the university is ripe for development. We have had a lot of development in that area, but it has not been planned development. One of the things that we're excited about is that in working with the city and the new Kroger development, which is now going to be a mixed-use development with residential, small shops, and the Kroger going on the site for the ballpark. We're going to have a greenway that is running through the Rocky Branch all the way to the river. This area has, as you know, many, many student housing projects. Many, many of these student housing projects are next to railroad tracks. It's just the nature of the area. There's nothing we can do about that unless we plan, which part of our Mill District plan is to consolidate and take a look at these railroad crossings. The Greek Village is next to the railroad tracks. That was the university plan. So we recognize that we have the ballpark, the new university ballpark. We have a lot of student housing. We have a lot of old housing stock in Olympia and Whaley that needs to be restored. We are excited about increasing our residential percentage in this area, and also to welcome new small business in a neighborhood Main Street kind of arrangement in this town. We support wholeheartedly this development. We're excited about the land use categories we have in the Mill District Plan. We are talking about making sure that residential is a part of every single one of these land use areas to create that vibrant live, work, play environment. We're excited
I've got to
about
call your
that.
time.
Hmm?
The time is up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear a buzzer. Did it buzz? Anyway, we're excited about this. We've been working with these folks, and we really hope that this can be a great addition to our new Mill District. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome to.
Hi, I'm Vi Henley, and I'm with the Olympia community and also a member of the Capital City Mill District. Yeah. Anyhow, I'm a member of the groups.
We got you.
All right, cool. I've lived in the Olympia community for roughly 30 some odd years. In all those years, I've never known a student to fall drunk onto the railroad tracks and die. We've had the fraternity sorority houses there now for some time. These kids come back and forth over those tracks to date without any intervention by the university. The housing stock for the fraternity and sorority party houses are in the Granby, Olympia, and Whaley Street neighborhoods. So you already have that traffic going on. I'm excited that BET is taking the time to look at how they might mitigate that problem, whereas the university itself has not done so. The other wonderful thing about BET at this point is that they're planning to actually get rid of the pollution that is currently the phosphate pollutants. The university in its plans for its new incubator center is planning just a cap. So these folks are going above and beyond what is required for your typical development, and we're excited to have them. So with that, we'd appreciate your considering them. Thank you very much.
Chair, members of the Planning Commission, I'm Bob Guild. I'm the president of the Granby Mill Village Neighborhood Association and former member of this commission. We urge you to support the site plan review for the proposed project at Catawba Street. I'll just second a number of the points that my neighbors made just a moment ago. We're very excited about this project. The developers were extremely cooperative with the neighborhood and responding to our interest in seeing that the design was compatible in many respects with Mill Village and with our community's future plan. The design is ideal as far as we are concerned. We think that the trend toward smaller units as compared to the units that were marketed largely to undergraduate students is a step in the right direction for a community that's quite used to dense multifamily housing. We're surrounded by several thousand student units in our neighborhood. My neighborhood has worked very closely with all of the developers in the community, and when they've done good projects, we've been very supportive. And for that reason, we have renovated adaptive reuse of the Olympia and the Granby Mills, the expansion by the mill developers into new units on their parking lot, which reflected a positive relationship with the community. We support very strongly the use of multi-use developments and incorporating neighborhood retail, and this project at our request has done so. So we'll have another coffee shop, another small retail located at the ground floor. They've emphasized multimodal transportation, connectivity to the greenway, bicycle transportation, scooters, as well as the traditional automobile. So, and finally, we're very, very pleased that they've committed to a positive, proactive effort at cleaning up the groundwater contamination at the site. You know, this whole area was part of the industrial infrastructure of Columbia that supported the cotton mill industry. All along Blossom Street, where the USC Greek Village was warehouse districts that were much like this historic use. And Catawba Street extensively from east to west has this plume of groundwater contamination associated with this historic manufacturing. And as my neighbor Vibe Henley just said, we're particularly pleased that compared to the university, which is encapsulating existing pollution on their innovation district, their incubator building that you have approved, by the way, or the staff has approved their site plan, this developer has committed to actively remediating the contamination at the site. And we think that's all a positive, and we encourage you to approve the site plan for this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you? My name is Jason Hancock. I'm here to represent the property owner. I'm one of the property owners. My parents purchased this land back in the 80s when they had moved their business from the iconic Gibbs Machinery on the corner of Blossom and Assembly. So they went into business there. Both my parents have since passed, and my brother and I inherited the property. And we're also in support of BET and their plan, and just wanted to express our support. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment on this? Any other questions?
I do have a question for the applicant, actually, if you don't mind. Staff had a bunch of recommendations and comments to the approval.
Yes.
Is the applicant satisfied with all of those? They accepting of that if the motion is proposed that way?
We've discussed them. We're comfortable. Very comfortable.
I have a question for staff. Can we confirm this is in the Whaley Design District or within the comprehensive planning?
It is within our neighborhood planning area for the Capital City Mill District. It is not in a historic district. There is a Whaley, there are some historic districts in here, but they are not, it is not part of those historic districts.
Okay, so it's adjoining?
It's adjoining the historic, nearest historic districts to the south.
Okay.
If there's no other questions, I'd like to call for a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the site plan to construct a 141-unit multifamily development at 875 Catawba Street with staff comments.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose? It's approved. I believe if there's no other business, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.